We're back on the record. In 14 CR 1432, Mr. Jones does appear in custody. He is represented by Ms. Smith and Mr. Colvin, and Mr. Rubenstein and Mr. Wade are both here for the people. We are outside the presence of our jury. Are we ready for our jury, Mr. Rubenstein?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Colvin?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and call for him. Thank you. Please be seated. For the record, our jury has joined us back in the courtroom, and the defense witnesses are done for the moment, and so we'll get back to the prosecution's case now. Mr. Wade.
Your Honor, thank you. I call Danielle Richardson to the stand, please.
Good afternoon. I just need to give you an oath before you testify. You can come up this way. You'll be careful of that black cord there, please. And then if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thanks. You'll have a seat in the green chair, please. Thank you. You can proceed whenever you're ready, Mr. Wade. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
If you could maybe sit a little closer to the microphone so that can pick you up. Would you state your name, please, and spell your name for us?
Danielle Richardson. It's DanielleRichardson.
Ms. Richardson, where do you live?
In Grand Junction.
And what do you do for a living?
Work at a gas station.
Have you lived in this area for a long time?
Yes.
Where did you live back in March of 2012?
In Grand Junction.
Okay. Did you have a significant other at that time?
Yes.
What was his name?
Chris Richardson.
Were there times when you would go out hiking?
Both of us, yes.
Okay. And when you went out hiking, where would you typically hike?
It took you to go to a gas station in Grand Junction, and before you can even get done, they're on the phone with you saying, where are you at? We want to meet you. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Your boyfriend at the time, he had a warrant for minor stuff, right?
Exactly.
Nothing serious.
No.
Flip side of that is nobody's anxious to go sit in jail before they can get in front of the judge and get bond posted, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So the fact that he didn't go with you, the only purpose of that was for him to avoid getting hooked on the warrant, right?
Yes.
What was most important to you is we got to let law enforcement know about a really, really big deal, right?
Yep.
Okay. And a little bit talking about this location. Ms. Watson, did I trouble you to go to the other picture? I don't know the exhibit number though. 7:30? 11:30. Could I ask you to go to 11:30, please? Continuing permissions. So, it's hard to tell from here, right? But this is actually kind of a big boulder, and this is kind of a big boulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're standing on these boulders, you're looking down at the dirt from on top of these boulders, right?
Yes.
And so this dirt here in front of these big boulders at the bottom of this picture, the dirt's what, 3, maybe 4 feet down from there?
If that, yes.
Okay. And where we're at, when we're standing on these boulders, is in a ravine, right?
Yes.
Or a gulch, right?
Yes.
And so the banks of it go up high to either side of this, right?
Yes.
Now, you testified that you walked down into the gulch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you did, if I'm standing on these boulders here, if I'm standing on these boulders here, obviously I'm down in this gulch. You can't see me here from up above, right?
Yes.
But I'd be facing in the direction of Highway 50, right?
Yes.
Facing down the gulch.
Yes.
Okay. So if I went to my left and I climbed up off of that ravine, there's a tree at the top there, right?
Yes.
And that, I mean, what are we talking about? How far up does it take to get up to the side of that gulch? 50 feet, 100 feet at most?
At most.
Okay. I mean, it's steep, but I mean, you scramble up it in what, 5 seconds or
Yeah.
something? Okay. And so at the top of it, there's this tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just told us how you drove down the road and you parked at the tree, right?
Yes.
That tree, there's a little pull out just off to the side of the dirt road, right?
Yes.
And that tree, if you're standing at that tree and you look out towards Highway 50, you can see it plain as day, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this isn't like rocket science finding this place, is it?
No.
Okay. Drive down that road, so we're at the tree, where there's pull-out. Pull-out's right by the dirt road, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's pulled out from. You get on that dirt road, straight shot, basically. There's one big turn.
Yeah, you have one big turn and then,
But it's basically a straight shot to Highway 50, because that turn is like, what, 200 yards at most from the
Yeah.
road, right?
yeah.
Okay. So, couldn't be much easier to get to this location than it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And as far as Mason County Sheriff's Department being able to find you there, I mean, literally, all they got to do is drive down Highway 50, turn left on the road, and they're there.
By the time I left the police department in Delta and I hit that area, Mesa County was all over it.
Okay.
So they got there pretty quick.
Once
They knew
once
exactly
Delta
where it
got
was.
involved, right?
Once Delta got involved.
Okay. And the whole area, if you're out of that gulch, right?
Mhm.
Whole area, you can see Highway 50 real clear.
Oh, yeah.
Can see the cars on it.
Oh, yeah. You can see the cars on it. I can drive by. When I drove by, I could see cops out there walking around.
Okay. So other than the fact that you go down in this gulch, not a ditch, gulch, other than the fact you go down in that, hardly a remote place, right?
Right.
Thank you. We have nothing further.
Mr. Waite, redirect.
Just briefly, Judge.
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Richardson, it sounds like even though the receptionist at the sheriff's office didn't take it seriously and clearly offended you, that the sheriff's office itself got on this right away after you'd had a chance to call Delta and get them involved as well.
Yep,
Is that a fair statement?
that is.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Mr. Colvin,
Nothing based on that, Liz?
is the witness under subpoena? If so, is she released from her subpoena? Mr. Waite?
She could be released, Your Honor.
Mr. Colvin?
No objections.
All right, thanks. You're released from your subpoena, free to go. You're welcome. The people's next witness. Feel free to stretch if anybody wishes.
Call Detective Sergeant Luke Fedler to the stand.
Yeah, yes.
And this road's in between those big streams, right?
I would say so.
You would not want to go down that in a passenger car at 40 miles an hour, because there's some ruts in it, right?
There are ruts. I would say a passenger car could get down it, but I would say certainly not at 40 miles an hour.
Right, you're gonna go slow, because you gotta pick your way around the ruts to get down there, right?
I would say so.
Now, that's not to say a passenger car can't get down there, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. A passenger car could get there.
Okay. And frankly, there's sections of it where there's not bad ruts, and you probably could get going quite a bit faster. But you don't want to be just bombing down that road, because you're going to hit a rut eventually, right?
I would say possibly.
Okay. So not that hard to get to, not that hard to get to even in a passenger car, right?
Correct.
And when you're at that little pullout, you described it as maybe a turnaround spot on the road, right? When you're at that pullout with that tree there, you look out towards Highway 50, you can see it plain as day, right?
Yes.
Okay. Other than the fact that it's off of the highway a half a mile, and other than the fact, and this one's important, it's down in the gulch, it's pretty much right in plain sight, hardly remote, would you agree?
I would say it's not remote. No, you can see it from the highway.
Okay. Oh. Going down the end of the gulch itself, you described it as difficult, but not because of the length of the walk. The slope you're going down is pretty steep right there, right?
Yes.
Okay. But it's what? 15, 20 feet down into the bottom of that gulch, right?
You know, it's been so long, I can't remember. I would say it's longer than that, but
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
But, it's one of those slopes where, I can do it, but I don't know how to describe it. Where if you kind of lean back a little bit and you do this real fast steps as you go down, you can kind of jog run it without falling over, right?
I would say normally, yes, we had trouble because of the mud and stuff.
Right.
Yes, we several times did fall.
It's slippery, right?
Yes.
You might even have to sidestep down the side of the hill, right?
Depending on the conditions, yeah.
Okay. But literally, people were walking down into the gulch and out with equipment and all kinds of stuff the whole time you guys are there, right?
Yes.
You guys never set up a rope thing to get people in and out of there or anything like that, right?
Not that I recall.
And it never even crossed your mind that you needed some like technical climbing gear or stuff, right?
No.
Okay. Have a second, please, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We have no further questions.
Mr. Waite.
Mr. Colvin asked you about whether or not you could see, and certainly as you're standing down in the gulch, can you see Highway 50 from there, or can you not?
From where the remains were found?
From where the remains were found?
No.
Okay. So certainly from the parking area up along the road, you could see Highway 50.
Yes.
Once you're down in the ravine, down where the remains were found, you couldn't see it.
No.
Thank you. Anything else? Nothing else.
Mr. Colvin.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Now, getting you, a person, down into the gulch, no big deal. Getting a car down there, that'd be a pretty big deal, would you agree?
Into the gulch?
Yeah.
I would consider that an accident, yes.
Yeah. Nobody's driving a passenger car into that gulch happily, fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Okay. So, if you want to get to that spot, the way you do it logically, and the way, in fact, you all did it, was you drive the dirt road to where the pullout is, and you park where the pullout is, and then you walk down into the gulch, right?
To get down in there?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yes.
Okay. And if you were parked at the pullout spot in a car, and you had your lights on, just like you can see the lights on Highway 50, you could see the lights of that parked car from Highway 50, right?
If the lights were on, yes.
Okay. Nothing further.
Mr.
Based
Waite.
on that, Judge.
All right, thank you. Subpoena,
Judge, he could be released.
any objection? All right, thank you, sir. You're released from your subpoena, free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The people's next witness.
Call Kevin Lucy to the stand.
Feel free to stretch. Before you testify, there's a black cord right there too. Thanks. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you, sir. If you have a seat in the green chair for us, please. Thank you. You can begin whenever you're ready, Mr. Wade. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Mr. Lucy.
Hello.
Would you state your name for us and spell your last name?
Kevin Lucy, L-U-C-Y.
And sir, where do you live?
I live in Sheridan, Wyoming now.
Okay. Did you used to live in Delta County?
I did.
Okay. And when you were in Delta County, what was your occupation?
I was county coroner and funeral director
Okay. Funeral director for a particular funeral?
for
home?
Taylor Funeral Home.
Okay. Now, you said that you were the Delta County coroner?
Correct.
So was that an elected position?
It is.
Okay. And back in March of 2012, were you the Delta County coroner?
I was.
Okay. In March of 2012, what were your duties as a coroner? What typically would you have to do?
Overall, to determine cause and manner of death of an individual, identification, and to protect that individual's rights.
Would you sometimes go out to the scene of someone's death?
Yes, quite often.
Okay. And were you called out to a location of some remains on March 6th of 2012?
I was.
Where did you go as a result of being called out?
Commonly referred to as Fool's Hill. There's a dry wash along the bottom, the east side of Fool's Hill in Delta County.
Okay.
On the north side of Highway 50.
And we've been calling it Wells Gulch.
Wells
Does that
Gulch.
sound right to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's probably the correct name of that.
Okay. All right. Fool's Hill's kind of just a name people
Part
have
of the
given it.
highway, yeah.
Okay. So you went out to that location, and when you got there, what was your role in this?
As I arrived, Under Sheriff Taylor and Detective Fedler were there. They were called to that area prior to me, and they assumed there was probably human remains that had been found, so that's why I was called, and they showed me what had been found. And I made that same assumption that it certainly resembled human remains to me. And I worked in conjunction with Colorado Bureau of Investigation later that afternoon and into the evening and even into the night to remove them from the creek bed or the dry wash that they were in.
Okay, so your role was to kind of be there and oversee things as you extracted those remains, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Along with CBI as well. We worked in conjunction in that removal.
Okay, and actually that removal involved a number of agencies.
It really did, yeah.
Involved Delta County Coroner, Delta County Sheriff, Mesa County
Mesa
Sheriff, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, a lot of folks there at that point, or at least during the process?
Yes.
Okay. Did you actually participate in the extraction or the recovery of the remains, or did you, how did you?
I did.
Okay. Were there other people that were doing that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Once the remains were recovered from the area, who took possession of the remains?
I did.
Okay. And did you keep possession of the remains at least for a period of time?
Yes.
Okay. At one point, did you deliver the remains that had been found to somebody to determine whether or not they could identify the remains?
I did.
Where did you take them?
I took them to Dr. Bull, a forensic odontologist here in Grand Junction.
Okay. And did you leave them there with Dr. Bull, at least for the period of time he needed to make his identification?
I did.
Okay. Once you had done that, and he had done his work with the remains, what happened next?
I kept them in the possession of the Delta County coroner. As there was further work at Wells Gulch going on to see if there were other remains to be found, and so I did keep them until we had concluded that search at the scene.
Okay, until you could get completely finished? In the process of extracting these remains, it certainly went into the late evening, late hours of the night on the 6th of March, and then there were other searches the following day?
The following day, yeah, that continued on the next day.
Okay. And not only did they search that immediate area, but there was even a search organized to go all the way, kind of down the gulch, if you will.
Indeed, yes.
Due to the area and due to the fact that the gulch was kind of a place where you'd get runoff and so forth?
Correct.
Okay. Once that process was completed, did you then take the remains up to any other coroner's office?
We did transfer jurisdiction to Mesa County Coroner's Office after the gathering of all the remains was completed.
Okay. Did you yourself go up there and take the remains up to the coroner's office?
Actually, one of the coroner investigators from Mesa County came to my office in Delta and picked them up.
And you turned over the remains to them?
Correct.
Okay. Did you attend the autopsy itself at the Mesa County Coroner's Office?
I did not.
Okay, so you didn't go up there?
No.
Okay. So once you had turned over custody of the remains, if you will, to the Mesa County Coroner's Office, was your role pretty well concluded in this?
It was.
Okay. Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Colvin, cross-examination.
We have no questions for this witness.
Thank you. Is he under subpoena, Mr. Wade?
He is. He could be released, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. You're released from your subpoena and free to go. Thanks, you're welcome. The people's next witness.
We call Dr. Craig Droskin to the stand, please.
Okay, feel free to stretch if anybody wishes. I just need to give you an oath before you testify. If you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So you can have a seat in the green chair right behind you there. Thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, if I could approach the witness briefly just to retrieve the pictures that are in front of
That's
him.
fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi,
Would you state your name for us and spell your last name?
Craig Droskin, D-R-O-S-K-I-N.
Sir, how are you employed?
I'm a dentist, have my own dental practice.
Okay. What types of dentistry do you practice?
Just general family dentistry,
How long have you been a dentist?
since 1995.
And have you always been a dentist here in the Grand Junction area?
Yes.
During the course of your practice, did you have a patient named Paige Dixon or Paige Bergfeld?
Yes.
How did you know her? As Dixon or Bergfeld, do you remember?
Dixon, I think I might have known her as Bergfeld as well. Yeah, Cedar.
Do you recall her disappearance in June of 2007?
Just on the news, yeah.
Okay. At that point, how long had she been a patient with you?
Maybe 6 or 7 years.
Had you performed regular dental work on her?
Yeah, primarily just regular checkups and exams, and she didn't really usually need much dental work.
Okay. Did that include x-rays?
Yes.
Forms of her teeth, that sort of thing, or not?
X-rays, don't recall ever having any reason to do models on her.
Okay. Did you maintain good records with respect to your examinations of Ms. Dixon?
Yes.
And in March of 2012, were you asked by law enforcement to provide those records to aid in the possible identification of some found human remains?
Yes.
Were you able to provide those records at that point?
Yes.
Do you remember whom you provided those to?
Just somebody from the sheriff's office, I believe.
From somebody from the Mesa County Sheriff's
Yeah.
Office? Okay. Did you provide the full records for Ms. Paige Bergfeld or Paige Dixon?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I don't have anything else for you.
Mr. Colvin,
Defense has no questions, thank you.
thank you. Just subpoena, Mr. Waite.
Yes, we could release it, Judge. Thank you.
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
No, sir?
All right, thank you. So you're released from your subpoena, free to go. Thank you. Your next witness, please.
Your Honor, we call Dr. John Bull to the stand.
Feel free to stretch. Thanks. Good afternoon, sir. If you could approach, I need to give you an oath before you testify, please. We have a black cord stretched across your walkway there. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. All right, thank you, sir. If you have a seat in the green chair by the microphone. Thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Waite, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
John William Bull, B-U-L-L.
Dr. Bull, what is your current occupation?
I'm a dentist.
Okay. What other specialties do you have?
I have a specialty in pediatric dentistry and also in forensic odontology.
Okay. Dr. Bull, how long have you been a forensic odontologist?
Better than 30 years.
Okay. Dr. Bull, where did you go to college?
Here at Mesa College and then Baylor University, Washington University for dental school, and UCLA for the graduate program in pediatric dentistry.
Okay. Do you have to have a degree? Is there such a thing as a specific degree for forensic odontology?
No. I've had training at the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology and at the University of Texas, where they've presented short courses on forensics. Most of the rest of my education has been at the annual sessions of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
So what is forensic odontology? What does that mean?
We're involved in the legal side of dental questions. Body IDs, cases of potential malpractice, bite marks, assaults of that nature, those sorts of things that would come before a court.
Do you have to get certified in those areas at all?
There are some programs that offer a sort of a focused training, like on bite mark or on body IDs, or mass disasters is one that they've run a lot of training programs on.
Okay. Have you been to a number of those training programs?
Yes, I have.
Can you give us a rough idea of how many you've been to?
At least 8, maybe 10.
Okay.
They're usually part of the meeting, the annual meeting that I go to.
Okay. Are you also a member of any forensic fellowships or any forensic organizations?
Well, the American Academy of Forensic Sciences is the primary one, and yes, I am a fellow of that academy.
Okay. How long have you been involved with that academy?
Oh, 20-plus years.
Okay. How long have you been doing forensic odontology itself?
25 years at least.
25 years? Okay. And have you been the chief forensic dental consultant, if you will, for the Mesa County Coroner's Office?
Yes, I have.
How long have you been in that role?
Close to 25 years.
Okay. Have you had occasion to use your training as a forensic odontologist in kind of a practical sense? In other words, have you made identifications of human remains, unidentified and so forth?
Several hundred cases, yes.
Okay. What, are there some things that we might be familiar with that you've had involvement with as far as working in that
The
capacity?
Storm King fire, the number of firemen that were in a mass disaster type situation, the airline crash at the Aspen airport, private jet, a number of fatalities burned in that situation. Those are probably things that have been in the local news.
Okay. And did you provide forensic odontology services during the course of those two things you just described?
Yes, I did. I was on the team on both of those.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer Dr. Bull as an expert in the area of forensic dentistry and forensic odontology.
Mr. Colvin,
No objection.
I do find the witness is so qualified as an expert in those areas, he'll be allowed to express his opinions. Thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Waite.
Thank you, sir. Were you asked to provide forensic odontology services in the case in which we're in court today?
Yes, I did.
I want to take you back to March 7th of 2012. Were you asked by Kevin Lucy, the Delta County coroner, and also the Mesa County coroner to make a comparison of some dental records?
Yes, I was.
And what were you comparing those dental records to?
I took radiographs of a skull that was brought to me by the Sheriff's Department, and I compared those to the records that were, again, brought to me by the department from a private practice dentist here in Grand Junction who had a patient, and I was able to identify that his records were a match to the skull that I was given to study.
Okay. First of all, do you recall what the name of the dentist was whose records you were examining?
I have it in my papers. I can't say it right now.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at your papers? Sir, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may he do so?
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
No, sir.
That's Dr. Droskin.
Dr. Craig Droskin?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
That's the dental records that you were given to use?
That's right.
Okay. And then what was the source of the skeletal remains that you were given?
The Sheriff's Department brought them to me. I wasn't on site to recover them or anything like that.
Okay. What were you told about those remains ahead of your comparison? Before you were able to make a comparison, did they tell you anything about them?
Not really. Just,
Okay.
you know, that this was a skull that had been found apparently by a hunter or something, and they believed that this might be the individual, and they had the records for me to do the comparison with.
Okay. First of all, with respect to the dental records you were using, do you know whose dental records they were?
Yes.
What was the patient's name?
Well, it's Paige Dixon.
Okay. Now, how do you go about doing this? How do you go about making this kind of a comparison?
It's like comparing photographs, only you don't have a 3D image like the representation of the way a photograph is. This is radiographic shadows. And the common dental x-rays that a dentist will always use to diagnose dental diseases, periodontal disease or dental decay. And that's why we have them, and they're maintained records for the work we've done and so on. And then, of course, I just try to make the same kind of an x-ray on the skeletal remains so that I can do a comparison.
Okay. Were you able to make that comparison in this case?
Yes, I was.
And what are you looking for? As you're making that comparison, what are you looking for?
Well, we have to have the right number of teeth. We can't have teeth that have grown back. They don't. So if teeth were missing in the dental records before the person was deceased, then we would not recognize that this could be the same individual if some teeth had grown back.
Okay.
If the dental restorations have been placed, that's the evidence we like the best, because that's not just an individual. This is now some intervention, and we've left behind markers that we can say this, this isn't just a person's teeth. This is a unique thing that we did to that tooth, and we can then compare that.
Were there things that you found that were more important or more helpful than others in making the identification in this case?
Yes, that's the way I actually phrase my records, my identification, as I try to point out those things that, and the first and most useful one was a filling that had been placed. And we had the radiographs before and after. And although the filling did not show very well on the radiographs, because I had the records that explained where the filling was and what kind of filling it was, I could use a black light that would show up this composite filling that ordinarily the idea is to make it look so much like a tooth that you wouldn't even notice there was a filling there,
Okay.
which is, nice composite filling materials. But because my records indicated that this person had had a filling of that nature placed, I got out my black light and shined it on it, and very nicely right where it was supposed to be was this intervention, this filling that had been placed.
Were there other things that you found important or helpful during the course of that comparison?
Wear patterns, things. This is something a person who tended to grind their teeth and had flattened off certain teeth to a very noticeable amount, and that was reproduced in the x-rays, and I could compare the x-rays and show that. Also just the anatomy of a tooth. I mean, individual people look different than other individuals, and teeth do look a bit different. And so you can tell the characteristics of the shape of the tooth, and when you have a radiograph, you can look inside and you can see the shape of the root canal and the pulp chamber, and you can compare how the roots are aligned and how the crowns are aligned. And so you not only have all the teeth to look at, but you have the sort of the wrinkles on the face, which are, the individual characteristics of the teeth.
Okay. As you examine these teeth, were there any inconsistencies between the dental records and the skeletal remains?
There were no inconsistencies.
Okay. If there had been, would you have noted them in your report?
Yes.
Okay. Did you note any teeth that were missing?
Wisdom teeth had been extracted.
Okay. And that's kind of an ordinary thing you might see in somebody?
Common.
Common?
Yes.
Okay. Did you note any other teeth missing or any damage to any of the teeth in the
I didn't note that because I was really using the teeth that I had records of, so that I could do a comparison. So that's where I kept my focus.
Okay. If there had been, would you have noted that in your report?
Typically, yeah.
Okay. Dr. Bull, as you made this comparison then, were you able to make a determination about the identity of the skeletal remains?
Yes.
And what was that determination?
The skeletal remains were those of the person with the dental records for Paige Dixon.
Okay. Now, did you determine that there might be some DNA that was recoverable from any of those remains?
No, I did not.
Okay.
That
You-
was done by another person.
Okay. So you didn't get involved in extracting a tooth for that purpose at all?
No.
Okay.
But that is a common source of still some good, clean DNA that you can make a comparison with. It's been kept in a nice little chamber. So,
Judge, this is beyond the scope of this individual's expertise.
Well, Judge, I'm not
Mr.
sure
Wade.
it is. I mean, as a dentist, he's going to know whether there's sources of DNA within the teeth.
yeah, so that is something that is...
Sorry, sir, there's an objection. I need to rule on it, and then the
Oh,
lawyer
okay.
may be able to ask you other questions. But the objection sustained due to a lack of foundation with regard to the areas in which he's been qualified as an expert. Thank you.
Without talking about the DNA issue then, are you aware sometimes is your identification corroborated by other forms of identification?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, you didn't get involved in the other form, you just got involved in this identification?
That's right.
Okay. But you were clear that the identification you made was that these skeletal remains were Paige Dixon?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have anything else, Judge.
Mr. Colvin, do you have any cross-examination?
Defense has no questions
No.
for this witness.
Is he under subpoena, Mr. Wade, and if so, is he released?
He could be released, Your Honor.
Mr. Colvin, any objection?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. So you're released from your subpoena, free to go. Thank you. The people's next witness, please.
Your Honor, we call Frank Kachifer to the stand.
Thank you. Feel free to stretch if anybody wishes.
So, I don't know.
Good afternoon, sir. If you could approach, I need to give you an oath before you testify. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you, sir. If you have a seat in the green chair, please. Thank you. And then you can proceed whenever you're ready, Mr. Waite, with your direct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your name for us, please?
Bernard Frank Kochever, Jr.
And I guess I better have you at least spell for us the first name and your last name, please.
Bernard. My last name is Kochevar.
Excuse me. Mr. Kachiver, how are you employed?
I work for Mesa County Public Works.
And what do you do for the Mesa County Public Works?
I do all the in-house surveying for Public Works and most of the other departments, including the Sheriff's Office on large-scale crime scenes.
Okay. Is the making of maps part of your responsibilities in that position?
Yes.
And do you occasionally make maps for other county agencies in various circumstances?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to direct your attention to the investigation and documentation of that, of the disappearance of Paige Bergfeld. Did you have some involvement in making some maps that were related to that investigation?
Yes, I made several maps. Two of them were using the Mesa County GIS, Geographic Information System. And the other one was actually using ortho digitals that we specially had flown where the remains were found in Wells Gulch.
Okay. I'm going to show you first what's been marked as People's Exhibit 471. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Sir, can you tell me what People's Exhibit 471 is?
Yes, it's a map that shows a overview, including where
The remains were found at Paige Bergfeld. Her residence, where a burned car was found, and where Mr. Jones' work address.
Okay. And does it show, is there like a red box on there that shows a section of Highway 50?
Yes, that was indicated by the investigators where they done the search on Highway 50.
And where they had found pieces of evidence along the highway?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that one of the maps you've created in this case?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell from the map what was the date of the creation of the map?
July 18th, 2016.
Now, how do you go about making that map? Where do you get the information to decide what to put on the map?
First of all, the base map is actually from, like I said, the Mesa County GIS information system. But the rest of it was from investigators at the sheriff's office and what they wanted on the map.
Okay. If you're provided with a general area to consider and the information that they want or need on the map, you can create a map like the one you're holding there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that an accurate map according to that area and according to what you were asked to put on the map?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer Peoples 471.
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
Can we approach the exhibit real quick?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
One second.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Why are you guys introducing our bigger ones that you did last time?
– 471 is admitted.
And then if we could publish that, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No, sir.
That's fine, thank you.
Now, Mr. Korchever, behind you is this, on the TV here is a copy of what we had just introduced. Does that look like an accurate copy that is published up there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you described a number of things that were on there. Your Honor, may he approach the map?
Sure, that's fine, thank you.
Either that or you can use there's a pointer there if you'd like to use that instead.
Well, it's smarter not, oh, there it is. There. Got it.
Okay. If you could use that to, you talked about a number of things that were on this map. One of them was the area of Paige Bergfeld's remains.
Then could I get you to have the microphone?
Oh, okay.
So it's not behind your head, it's directional, and so you have a hard time picking you up. Thank you.
So, would you point
Would
to
be
those?
in that area right there.
Okay, and when you say that area right there, you're pointing to the lower right-hand corner where it has a little box that says Paige Bergfeld's remains found 3612?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, in terms of the information that's on that map like that, is that information you enter into the map itself, that you put on the map?
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a long red box up in more the middle of the map. You had described an area that the searchers had found a number of her items along the highway. Is that area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, and that red box goes from what looks like about mile marker 38 to about mile marker 51. Is that a fair representation of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were given the information for that as well early on to put on the map, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that indicates a little box that says the search area on, I think it's July 16th, if I can read it from here, 2007? Can I see that correctly?
July 15th.
Is it July 15th? Okay. All right. Then you indicated there's a couple other things on the map that you were asked to put on there. Can you tell us where those are and what they are?
Yes. The first one is Paige Bergfeld's residence at 2512 Old Easter Court.
Okay. And you were pointing to an area clear up at the
Right there.
top of the map, kind of left of center, is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. What else is on there, sir?
Where the investigators found Paige Bergfeld's burned car at 72723 Road on July the 1st, '07.
Okay, and you're pointing to an area that's up towards the left corner of the map, just below, it looks like just below I-70. Is that a fair statement there?
Yes.
Is that big red kind of curvy road that runs along the top of the map, is that I-70?
Yes.
Okay. And then just below that, there's one other place that's indicated on the map.
Yes, that is where Mr. Jones' work address is at 2302 Grand Park Drive.
Okay. And again, did you put that information into the map?
Yes, sir.
And is that location, the Grand Park Drive location, is that extremely close to the other location where the burned out car was found
Yes, sir.
on that map?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We can take that one down. So, Your Honor, if I could approach the witness again?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kochevar, I've showed you another map marked People's Exhibit 472. Can you tell us what is that?
It's a map showing the search area from mile marker 38 to mile marker 51, and it shows positions of evidence or items that the sheriff's investigators and deputies found that I took the positions off of a report.
Okay. So they provided you with a report that had GPS readings on it,
Yes, sir.
and then you took that information along with their description of what they had found and where they found it and made a map of that?
Yes.
Okay. So that all the little yellow boxes that are on there are information, contain information that the sheriff's office provided to you so that you can make that map?
Yes.
Is that an accurate map according to what the area that you were asked to make the map of and the information that you were asked to put into it?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer People's 472.
No objection.
People's 472 is admitted without objection.
And Your Honor, if I could have just a moment.
Yes, sir.
And if we could publish that, Your Honor, please.
Any objection?
No, sir.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kachiver, again, we're looking at the map that we just introduced as People's 472. Is that really kind of a more zoomed-in map with respect to the red box we just looked at on that other map?
Yes, sir.
So this is a more kind of zoomed-in version of that,
Yes.
with a lot more detail in it about the items that were found along Highway 50?
Yes.
Okay. And again, it includes the items that were found, as well as, it looks like it still includes the area where Paige Bergfeld's remains were found?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything else on that. Now, Mr. Kachiver, did you have an additional role in this investigation once her remains were found in that Wells Gulch area?
Yes, sir. The first was taking a report from the Delta County DA's office, which included GPS positions, and mapped those positions. Then there was a subsequent search done by the sheriff investigators, and I was actually personally there with GPS, survey grade GPS equipment to locate any evidence that they found.
Okay, so you actually went out and were involved in the search as they recovered the remains of Paige Bergfeld?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you said you took GPS, survey grade GPS readings. The ones that you're looking at on that map right there, if let's say somebody has a handheld GPS unit, what's the quality of that handheld unit, generally speaking?
Handheld, like the ones you can buy at a sporting goods store or anywhere, is usually plus or minus 6 meters. Normally it's better than that, but you never know when it's going to be plus or minus 6 meters, or it could be worse than that. I've seen it be a lot worse than that.
So sometimes those handheld units aren't that great.
Not for this type of surveying.
So you took a different GPS instrument with you when you went down to Wells Gulch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you talk about a survey grade GPS unit, what are we talking about? How does it work? What does it look like?
It's a small disc, weighs about 5 pounds, and actually is attached to what we call a rod, a surveyor's rod. And it uses a different type of GPS that allows it to be very much more accurate, down to the centimeter, or the size of about a dime.
Wow, okay. So much more detailed from that.
Yes.
Okay. That's not something that ordinarily patrol officers or anybody else would carry around with them.
No, they don't have the training to actually use the equipment either.
It takes special training to use that equipment?
It takes a surveyor to know how to run that type of equipment.
Okay. So somebody like you certainly could run it, but it wouldn't be available just to the average law enforcement person?
No. And actually, the price difference between the handheld and one of these instruments or GPS receivers is in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Wow, okay, so a pretty expensive little unit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they let you use that, so they must trust you with it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could approach the witness.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Kachiver, I've shown you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 1101. Did you also prepare that map?
Yes, sir.
And does that map have a number of GPS readings on it?
Yes.
Were some of those GPS readings the ones you talked about taking?
Yes.
And are there other GPS readings on there that were taken by other individuals and then you were given the information to put into the map?
Yes, the first 19 of them, point numbers 1 through 19, were actually from a report that was done by the Delta County DA's office.
Guy named Steve Donovan, if you remember it. Do you remember the name at all?
I'm not going to say, but
Okay. But you got some of those readings from another report
yes,
that you were provided, and then you added those in along with the readings you took?
yes.
Okay. And does that map out the location of other items that were found down Wells Gulch from the remains area down further down the gulch?
Yes, sir.
And were you involved in that, in GPSing those items as you went?
Yes.
And is that map an accurate depiction?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit people's 1101.
Mr. Colvin,
No objection.
1101 is admitted.
And if we could just publish that briefly, Judge.
Mr. Colvin,
No objection.
that's fine, thank you.
Are we now looking at 1101, sir?
Yes, sir.
And could you just show us, in basic terms, where the location of the remains are, and then where all the other items that were found in GPS were located?
The remains were found right in that area, and the circle around that is actually this detailed area. The reason for that is there's, if you look at it in the base map there's points over points. So to get them to where you can see all the evidence that was found, I made a detail or a larger scale.
Okay.
And then the rest of them are going down Wells Gulch. I think it's Wells Gulch Creek, from where the remains were found all the way down under Highway 50. There were several items found upstream, but fairly close to where the remains were found.
Okay. Now, when you were pointing to that, just for the record, you were pointing to where the remains were found, you were pointing to a point that's up in the upper right-hand quadrant of that map, in an area where there's a kind of a darker or a more prominent yellow spot right there, is that?
Yes.
And then when you said the remains area detail, that's actually up in the left-hand corner of the map?
Yes.
Okay. Down in the right-hand corner, there's a number of, looks like readings down in the right-hand corner. What are those?
Yes, the first box is the GPS coordinates that actually came off of the Delta County DA's report that I mentioned.
Okay.
The next box, and it starts with point 1001, that is the GPS coordinates that I actually obtained with the survey grade
Okay.
GPS.
All right. Thank you, sir. That's fine, and I don't have anything else, Judge, at this point.
Mr. Colvin, any cross-examination?
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Watson, could I get the thing? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You and I have had the opportunity to talk in a different hearing in this case, is that correct? You testified before, and I got to ask you questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And tell us again, what is your job at Mesa County?
I do all the in-house surveying for Public Works and most of the other departments in Mesa County, including the Sheriff's Office.
So, it's not unreasonable to describe you as the map maker for Mesa County. I recognize you have a lot more jobs than that, but That's what you do, right?
Yes, sir. There's another department that you could call the map makers, and that's the GIS department.
Okay, are you familiar with the GIS department?
Definitely, yes, sir.
And how come?
I provided all the control necessary to make the GIS data attached to the Earth's surface and make it to where it was an accurate depiction of those maps.
Okay. And GIS is the Geographical Information Systems, is that right?
Geographic Information System.
Right. Isn't that what I said?
I didn't really hear the second word.
Okay. So GIS for Mesa County, those are the guys they're the ones that run the website, right?
Yes, sir.
Can I approach this witness? They have a web link up on my computer. Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That will actually take you to the GIS data on the GIS server at Mesa County.
I'm going to click it and follow it. So if I did that, is that taking us to the GIS website?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so literally like anybody can go online and go to this website and all kinds of maps for Mesa County are stored here, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're the guy that made sure that these maps that the GIS guys put up on the web, you're the guy that makes sure they're all accurate.
Yes, sir.
And are these maps that GIS puts up accurate?
To a certain extent, it depends on which layer you're asking me the precision on them. For instance, the assessor layer, there's some inconsistencies of how the data was put in the GIS. But if you're talking about the map we're looking at right now, it is an accurate map.
Okay. In general, does the GIS website, which I have in front of you on the computer, does it accurately portray the areas that it depicts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to ask for permission to publish the website that I'm working with. If I can approach, I'll show prosecution what I want to.
If I could see the lawyers at the bench, please. Thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Coleman.
And I do have permission to publish?
You do. There was no objection, I believe.
No objection.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
It's gonna pop up there in a second. We hope, or I hope. Okay, so what we're looking at here is that website we were just talking about, right?
Yes.
Down here in the corner, it tells us Mesa County, Colorado GIS IT Department. That's the Geographical Information System Information Technology Department, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the cool thing about this website, these maps contained on this website are actually the maps you used to make the demonstratives that we saw earlier. It shows the red box and everything on, right?
Yes, sir, but I did not use the website to create those maps. I used another software called ArcMap.
Gotcha. Now, at the top, I have different buttons to push. Are you real familiar with this website, sir?
Yes, sir.
I forget. How do I change to the particular map I'm looking at? Is it imagery or legend? Do you remember?
Well, if you tap the imagery, you're going to get digital orthos that show up behind the data.
You got me where I was going. Thank you. This is great. It's like IT's right here in the courtroom with me. So we can change what the map depicts by going to this menu right here, right? What we're looking at on this first page is 2015 countywide, right?
Yes.
But one of the options we can go to is 2007 countywide, right?
Yes, sir.
So now what we're looking at is information that's been maintained and stored by Mesa County of what the real estate looked like back in 2007, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we can flip back and forth between different months, but we can move this, or excuse me, different years, but on any of these maps, we can move it around on the web, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the cool part is we can zoom out so we can see a whole lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. When we zoom out, we can take it down all the way to the Delta County line, right? This is the
Or thereabouts.
Okay. And if we zoom in, we can zoom all the way down and see Bridgeport Road here on this map, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we zoom in like that, do I have continuing permission?
Yes, you do. Thank you.
When we zoom in all the way, we can see Bridgeport Road labeled, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when you're out, you don't see Bridgeport Road labeled, right?
That's the way it's designed, yes.
Okay, when you did your map, you picked a scale that was able to fit everything you wanted on that map on it, right?
Yes.
And that scale obviously was different than the scale I'm doing here, where we can see Bridgeport Road labeled, right?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to go back to one of prosecution's exhibits. And I'm going to publish with permission 471.
Objection?
No objection.
That's fine, thank you.
Now, on this exhibit, what we're seeing here is particular things that Mesa County Sheriff's Department wanted you to put on this map, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, you know, Mesa County Geographical Information Services doesn't have a map just intended to show where Page Bergfeld's burned cars. That's something that the Sheriff's Department wants you to put on there, right?
Yes.
And the Sheriff's Department wants you to put on Page Bergfeld's residence, right?
Yes.
And the Sheriff's Department wants you to put on Lester Jones' work address, right?
Yes.
And then, they're the ones that want you to put on this map where the remains are found, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if they had wanted you to put on this map where George Corluzzo's house was, you would have done that.
Oh, I don't know the person, but yes.
Right. I'm going to say a bunch of names, and you don't have any idea who they are, okay? But the question is, if Mesa County Sheriff's Department wanted you to put on this map where Stephen Heald's house was, you would have done that?
Yes, sir.
Or you certainly would have put on Stephen Heald's work if they wanted you to do that, right?
Yes.
And in fact, if they asked you to, you could have changed the scale on this, blown in on this area right around where Ms. Bergfeld's burned car was, Mr. Jones' work address was, and if it fit within the picture, you could have a map, say a half-mile by half-mile, showing how close Mr. Heald's work was to that burned car, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's possible, but you can't do any of that unless they ask you to, right?
Right.
And they not only didn't ask you to, they didn't even give you the information so you would know what I'm talking about when I say these names, right?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. But you know who Mr. Jones is, right?
Yes.
You know that because you know he's on trial for murder.
Yes.
And you know the Sheriff's Department asked you, we want your help on a murder case, right?
Yes.
And specifically, they told you, we need this guy down there, right?
Yes.
So the goal was, when they talked to you, we want you to create an exhibit for a murder case, right?
Yes.
And they don't tell you things like, hey, we'd like to know where Jose Tavera's house was at the time of this, right?
No other details.
Okay. And they didn't say anything to you about John Livingston, where he worked.
No.
And if they'd asked you to, you could show his workplace in Fruta, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wayne D'Amico, they didn't say anything to you about, please put Wayne D'Amico's residence on here, did they?
No.
Okay. The thing about maps is that you can make a map show what you want to show by picking and choosing what information you put on it. Would you agree?
Yes.
I mean, this map makes it look like Mr. Jones, something between Mr. Jones' work and where Ms. Bergfeld's remains are found, and a bunch of stuff's in between. It kind of ties it all together as there's a story going on here, right?
Yes.
Okay. But that story necessarily is predicated upon what you, the maker of the map, is told to put on the map, right?
Yes.
In other words, if we would choose to put different things on here, it could tell us a very different picture, right?
Yes.
For example, if we put on all these other names, we'd have a whole heck of a lot more little boxes up here, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it certainly wouldn't make it look all neat and clean when you pick and choose what you're going to put on the map, right?
What do you mean by neat and clean?
Well, it kind of makes it look real crystal clear
Well, I'm
things show.
very proud of the maps I make. And so,
And this is not a critique of your work, sir.
Yeah.
Please don't take it that way. You did a good job with that map. But the fact of the matter is, the map that you made it there, Mesa County Sheriff's Department's request, right?
yes.
Okay. And it is a very nice looking map.
Thank you.
All right. I need to go back now. Continuing permission to publish the website I was talking about before.
Any issues, Mr. Whitney?
No, Your Honor.
That's fine, thank you.
We're going to get there. Okay. Approach the witness.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way I can get rid of these, what are these called sections?
Township lines?
Township lines. Is there any way to get rid of those on this?
Yes.
How do you do it? Could you tell me what you're doing?
Sure. I'm going to go up here and select the map. I believe it's underneath here. Go to survey plats right away in GPS. Well, you can turn them on here. There's so many ways to do this.
That's all right.
But you can turn those off, and it's just a matter of finding it.
That's okay.
Okay,
I won't make the jury be subjected to me learning how to use computers.
okay.
But I appreciate your willingness to teach me. All right, so anyway, where I was trying to go with this is, so this is Wells Gulch Road. That's what it's labeled on the map here, right?
Yes, sir.
And that road is the same road that is running along where you had all the different crime scene things labeled, right?
It's adjacent to it, yes.
Yeah. This road here is that road there, right?
Right.
None of the maps show, well, this right here, is that Bridgeport Road, do you remember? Do you
Yes.
want to go in?
No, it's Bridgeport.
The distance from where the river is to where the remains are, what is that?
I have no idea.
Okay. Our scale here is 4 miles, right?
Actually, you can use the measure, yep, there you go.
That's the one thing I had learned how to do.
And you can change it to miles, because it's going to be a large figure if you do it by,
Okay. Here, you're gonna be better at this than I am. Using your website, can you tell us how far it is from where Bridgeport Road hits the river to the ballpark where the body is there?
it's clear all. Clear all. Okay.
I should have ran through this with you before we went in front of the jury, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then it's 7 miles between. Yeah,
Ballpark, right?
Yeah,
I think we don't know exactly where the remains are on this map, we only know exactly where the remains are on that other map.
right.
But it's gotta be, I mean, you're the guy that uses the $10,000 equipment, right? You're pretty sure it's real close to that, right?
Pretty sure. I'm really sure, 100%.
100.
In my business, you can't be pretty sure or assume.
But we can be real sure it's in the ballpark, it's 7 miles away from the river, right?
Yes,
Okay. And that's as the crow flies, right?
yes.
Okay. So if, well, I'll leave it there. And you, of course, have no reason to know why that distance is important in any way, if it's important, right?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Because had anybody from the sheriff's department or the prosecution asked you, you'd have been happy to put in where Bridgeport Road hits Gunnison River and measure the distance from there to where the remains are found, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Can I have 1 second, Judge?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I have no further questions. Do you want me to leave this up or turn it off?
No, it's fine. You can take
Mr.
it.
Waite, any other questions for the witness?
No other questions, Your Honor, and he can be released from his subpoena.
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
No objection.
All right, thank you, sir. You're released from your subpoena and free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are we at a good stopping point, or you have?
We do have another witness that we can put on for just for a couple minutes.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Feel free to stretch.
Yeah, kind of approach the witness stand.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. If you can have a seat in the green chair, please. And Mr. Rubenstein, you can begin whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Your name is Art Smith,
Yes,
and you're the Captain Art Smith that previously testified in this case.
I am, yes.
On July 19th of 2007, did you have occasion to contact Mr. Jones for purposes of returning his vehicles?
I did.
Can you explain what the purpose of the call was exactly?
You bet. That was the purpose exactly. We had possession of 3, in fact, of the Jones vehicles, and we had finished our forensic processing of 2 of them. And I was calling just to let them know that the vehicles were ready to be released and to attempt to make arrangements with them to release those vehicles.
Was part of the complication that you were unaware as to whether or not they had an ability, absent their vehicles, to get over to you?
Yes.
So you were trying to figure out logistically how to get them back?
Yes,
Did you record that call?
I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I've handed you, it's marked People's Exhibit 702. Do you recognize that?
I do.
Does it have your initials on it?
It does.
Did you place your initials on it after listening to it?
I did.
And is it a complete and accurate copy of the phone call?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd move to admit People's Exhibit 702.
Ms. Smith? No objection? All right, thank you. 702 is admitted.
And at this time, I'd ask to publish it.
Any objection, Mr. Colvin?
Yeah, we do object to it being published at this time. Can we approach?
Yes, sir. ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our our weekend recess at this point. And so please remember all the instructions I've given you for the other recesses. They still do apply, and try to avoid all media if you can. And we'll see you back Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your service. We'll see you back Monday at 9. Please rise for our jury. For the record, the jury has left the court. Mr. Rubenstein.
Judge, just for the record, so Captain Smith is obviously currently on the witness stand. For the court's information, we made a record of this up at the bench, but the defense needs about 3 hours on Monday, so we are expecting that Monday morning will be devoted back to the defense case. So I'm just going to ask Captain Smith to report back or maybe keep in touch with us possibly before lunch, but if not, not to be back until 1 o'clock, even though he's currently still on the witness stand, for more direct as well as cross.
Thank you. Sounds good.
And we'll review it again on Monday morning for the court, but we'll just ask for a similar language you used today, to seem like taking people out of order, and the captain will be recalled.
Okay, thank you.
And Judge,
Mr. Colvin, sorry.
Ms. Smith was doing some screenshots, and I think it's going to be able to email those to the court and the prosecution to supplement our record showing the website I was using.
Okay, sounds great.
The only thing she wasn't able to capture perfectly was the line that was drawn on the diagram by the witness between Bridgeport, where it hits the Gunnison, and the location of Ms. Bergfeld's remains. But I hope that the description was sufficient for the record for that purpose.
That's fine, Judge. I just asked to readdress this on Monday after they've been emailed, so we can address the accuracy of that or see if we have any issue.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you all Monday. Thank you. Thank you. We're in recess.